the Multimedia Ninja Podcast, episode 40. Hello again, and welcome to the Multimedia Ninja Podcast, where it's all about surviving and thriving in the digital convergence. My name is Bradford Rogers, and I'll be interviewing some multimedia ninjas who are making things happen in their respective fields and sharing tips, tools, and insights for multimedia artists and content creators. As always, you can find show notes at themultimedianinja.com. This week, meet the intern with the mostest, it's Sizwe. As you may know, in this podcast series, my friends and I will be talking about all things multimedia, including creativity, shaping your ideas, and how to be more productive doing it, regardless of what kind of content you're creating. We have got an exciting episode for you today, so what do you say we just let's get to it? All right. I hope everybody enjoyed last week with the Pimp My Profile episode with our tips for upping your online presence and various other things. Glad to see you back again. And as I mentioned last week, we have a special treat. I've had a special treat to have assistance for the last couple weeks here. And again, thanks to Brad McDonald from SAE.
Winners and losers.
Yeah, I actually meant to say that Brad is a winner. Yes, and the loser this week is me.
Loser.
For tweaking my hamstring while trying to stretch my hamstring. Yes. I'll try and avoid that. But anyway, thanks to Brad's help down at SAE, I do actually have a very cool assistant that is helping get these suckers out. As I mentioned, and if you've been hanging around on the audio episodes since the beginning, you know that they were audio only for a while, and then we went to video, and now we are doing video and getting that up to weekly, and that is a very large undertaking. Yes, it is. So I needed some help, and I don't mean just psychological, but we got help, and today you get to meet the ninja. Mr. Sizwe Gcabashe will be here. And without further ado, here he is. What's happening, Sizwe?
What's going on, Brad?
Not much. You actually already know, because you had this in advance. That's not the thing I wanted. How about?
It sounds good. I liked it too.
Yeah, we'll just repair that later.
Okay. I still liked it though, whatever it was.
Yeah, that was one of Tim's joints, so
okay.
we'll get on that. But
okay.
Yeah, so I was going to set this up with the resume and all that, but suffice to say, you've been here and you've been there, and you have a civil degree in what from where? A degree.
A public administration degree,
okay.
An industrial sociology degree.
Right. So that's what most multimedia guys have.
Of course, that's where we all start.
Yeah.
Before we get into it.
Right.
But yeah, it's kind of started off doing that. Went to college, really didn't know what I wanted to do.
And that's from Georgia Tech, right?
It's not from Georgia Tech. Close.
Yeah, okay.
From Cape Town, South Africa.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, so my family's from South Africa. I was born and raised out here, but so I decided to go out there.
Oh, gotcha.
For college, yeah.
So you were here growing up.
I was here growing up.
Went there to college.
And
then after getting the public administration degree, if I remember right, then you decided to come back here. And why? What was up with that?
Well, I was out there, and I started working. I was working at a public relations firm, do a lot of stuff like that, and I started just missing it out here, honestly speaking. Like I was making good money working out there, but it was just certain things that I missed, and just certain things that I wanted to do that really I always kind of had media related stuff in the back of my pocket, but I never really never went for it as such.
Right.
And so coming back here was kind of like me. I felt like I had more avenues to do that.
Gotcha. And you got to SAE, which is, in case I just glanced over that before, that is the Audio Engineering and Production School worldwide, but you came to the Atlanta.
To the Atlanta one.
Yeah. And what all did you study there?
Well, we did sound. What I did there was we studied a lot of sound. I did sound design there. Started all the way from basic signal flow to all the way up to a lot of stuff, mixing, mastering, just the complete gamut. They really did a good job there. Did about a 2-year program there, and really did a good job of kind of showing me the ropes in terms of audio. A lot of the stuff that I had been kind of playing with before, a lot of those buttons that I didn't know exactly what they did, kind of finding out what they did.
Gotcha. Yeah. And you apparently you have worked on and are working on podcasts of your own, right?
I am.
Let's pimp those out.
I am. Let's do that. Yeah. Well, I'm working on, a friend of mine has a podcast. Shout out to Justin. He's doing a podcast called the Planes and Trains Podcast.
Right.
And what it is kind of a travel podcast, but not your ordinary travel podcast. We're kind of doing a lot of young urban travel, kind of what young 20-somethings, early 30s, young professionals type of things that you would want to go do if you were to go to Brazil, whatever the case may be, Russia, whatever the case may be. We have a lot of people come in and tell their stories about when they traveled, hot spots to go see, stuff like that.
Gotcha. And while we're on that, so what sort of, if you're, I don't know if you're doing the production in person there with him, but are you, what sort of gear and software are you using for that podcast?
Good question. It's actually changed, honestly, and evolved as I've gone through the process.
Okay.
So I started off, I've got a couple of Shure SM78s, mic suite.
Like this one.
Indeed.
Oh, 78. 78. Sorry. Yeah, never mind. That's a 58.
Yeah,
My
close.
bad.
Close. Say it's pretty close. It looks a lot like it, but I
haven't had enough coffee yet today, so we'll
don't
get
worry,
there.
me either. I was running out of an Avid Fast Track Duo.
Okay.
At first into Pro Tools. And then now I'm actually using the Zoom field recorder. I'm recording directly into that.
Right, yeah.
And we've added kind of a GoPro to the setup, and now we're looking to haven't started doing the video yet, but we've started recording. The last one was recorded with video, so we're looking to kind of incorporate a couple of multimedia ninja principles we've learned here.
It's bad news, man. Bad news.
I've heard.
Yeah. I think you've been knee deep or waist deep in some of that recently.
Deep.
And yeah, will be this week too.
Fun stuff.
Yeah. So, so you were going direct to the field recorders now, and the Zoom is, well, I got a Zoom somewhere, but anyway, this is, for no apparent reason, this is a field recorder of a different brand, but it's same principle.
Same principle.
So instead of going into software, you're just going direct in there and taking the memory card out.
Well, I did that. So I did that the first time, but then what I started doing now is I'm just using that as my interface and just recording now instead of just taking that memory card out and dumping it in. I'm just recording directly to Audition now.
Okay. I wonder if I can do that on this thing. Never tried it.
You should. I feel like you should be able to.
I probably wouldn't anyway, because I'm actually using this just for field recording. So there's that. But
there you go.
Yeah. So for anybody keeping notes, we're actually using the Apogee Symphony in the studio here, and then I have an Apogee Duet that goes with the laptop. But I could leave that at home if this thing, if this Tascam will do the same interface kind of deal. Not that I love the Apogee; it's actually the smoothest sound of anything that I've used. But
I like it a lot too.
Yeah,
I love it.
But if that's one piece of gear I don't have to take, then I can just use my field recorder.
So is that what you use for mobile podcasts?
I have been doing the Duet, the Apogee Duet into the laptop, but yeah, I'm going to start doing more of the field recording regardless, because we have that other podcast that we've worked on that top secret. Be seeing that soon, but anyway, I'll probably be using a lot of the mobile recorder. So there's another idea for I'm going to have to see if this Tascam will work as an interface direct into the computer as well. That would be sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even know what connectors are out of here. I just pull the card out and stick it in the card reader. But
I'm sure it has a USB.
Yeah, it's in there somewhere.
It'll connect somewhere.
It's gotta. But anyway, well, from the podcast, tell me how you because obviously you're maybe getting some ideas or new whacks on the side of the head or something with, I'm referring to the book, by the way, if you haven't read that, but whack on the side of the head. But it's hopefully that's part of the process here. But how did you get through Brad McDonald at SAE to all this mess?
That's a good question. Well, after I went to SAE, I got back in the kind of working world again, and I've always, for the last few years, been halfway kind of doing audio and stuff like that. So I finally reached out. I called Brad and said, hey, listen, I want to leave my job. I'm tired of being in a cubicle. I want to really do this thing. I got this degree. Right. I'm not really using it like I'm supposed to. And I finally want to kind of dive all the way in. And I told him to kind of, if he sees anything that I can kind of do while I'm still working and stuff like that, please send it my way. And then that came across this opportunity. As soon as I saw it, jumped on the scene right up my alley in terms of what you were doing.
Right, which what I sent to Brad was that I thought maybe he might have some either, upperclassmen or graduates that obviously they're going to know their audio stuff going to SAE, or at least the best ones are, such as yourself.
Hopefully.
Yeah, definitely.
That's what I told them.
Yeah, that's my story. I'm sticking with it. but and also have their the intangibles. Not everybody. I mean, a lot of people can twist the knobs and stuff, but to have the rest of the soft skills, like business type, just having it together, that's a whole narrowing down of the. So yeah, and we did narrow down because I had a number of resumes and letters to start with. Okay. And as of now, we have one intern, and that would be
outstanding.
Yeah. So anyway, I went through and did some interviews and did some more follow-ups, and then we kind of did a probationary period, and here we are in the right in the middle of the whole cruise here. So anyway, I definitely appreciate the help.
No, thanks for having me.
And maybe we can get this puppy on the weekly video tip. And by the way, just for ninjas that are listening, the way we do the video thing is that we have this, you've seen the intro segment, which is basically in an Adobe After Effects, which has the crazy comic book thing. And so I have to insert each week the different little bits that change. So this is subject to further refinement because that is a bit time consuming to render, and mainly to render. We keep all the bits that don't change ready to put into Premiere as just a movie file, so we don't have to re-render the whole minute and a half worth of stuff, which would take several hours with my gear anyway. And so we have that After Effects thing. Then we have the bulk of the interview that you're seeing now with the 3 cameras. Cut to camera 1, 2, and 3. And so then now at this point, Siz edits that into some sort of coherent form and takes care of making sure the audio is good. We're actually recording when we're in the studio in usually Ableton Live, just because I like the very sexy vocal chain that is built in and that I don't have to do anything with.
Hey, easy cowboy.
Yeah, so that except that later you can see the waveform there. Says I usually bump that up to where it's a little more large.
Do you go for 12 or 16 in terms of your standard? I see both of those standards. That's
a whole nother thing.
Okay.
Yeah. He's referring to the LKFS and the all that stuff, which we'll leave that discussion for that. Almost, okay. I think I'm frankly not quite sure to yes, I admit it. It seems to me, though, that is a combination of absolute volume and compression. It's like how potent the thing is. I've done some little
potent,
because I've been using just the digital meters and my ears on Pro Tools and Ableton and all that. And getting it as compressed as I wanted, and getting it signal to noise where I wanted, and getting the maximum peak where I wanted it. And this LKFS is the if I'm calling it the right thing, is kind of the new kid on the block for measuring how potent things are. But frankly, to me, it seems the way it's behaving as if it's almost like how much compression is in there, how brick-walled is your sound. So I still think a combo, and it seems from using it, which is basically I've been doing about the same time that I've been working with you, because I've been working more with Adobe Audition, and so that it's getting up to where I want to check the LKFS and maybe use that as a reference to keep it around negative, I forget, 12, 16, somewhere in there.
I see both standards.
Yeah, and it depends on whether it's for YouTube video or more like digital filmmaking. That might be a little different. But then I take that, and then I still have to come in here and try and make sure the final output is like minus 2 or hovers around -3 on average.
Got it.
And of course doesn't peak up to 0 at any point. So, and I try and leave like at least, minus 0.3 as far as headroom from the absolute peak, which some mastering guys might quibble with for records, but we're not doing those right here.
Exactly.
So it's a podcast, damn it. Anyway, so we take all that stuff every week, and then so Siz is making sure the audio is all good. We export, in most cases here, the audio and the sound effects, like the applause, out from, and by the way, once we crunch these vocals, they'll probably be as loud as those effects. So there we go.
There it is.
But we'll export those out just as files, and of course we export them from 0 minutes, 0 seconds for each stem. My voice, your voice, the sound effects, the music tracks, and then we just lay those into whatever else, into Premiere if we don't have to mess with them, which hopefully we don't. And then so we make the final print and render of the video version from the After Effects intro, which is stuck into the Premiere interview, along with the good audio here. We don't leave the camera audio from these 3 cameras. And we take all that, and then so far I'm rendering and uploading to YouTube the video, and Siz is rendering to audio, and then changing it into an MP3 file, and then putting our logo on the MP3 file, and then putting the episode title and description on the MP3 file, and then uploading the MP3 file to Libsyn, and then going into our WordPress post, which hopefully I've already initiated, and going and putting the link into that so that we can deliver your weekly podcast in audio and video format. Yes. Yes. And on a good week, it's not a complete cluster. Just
I love that one.
Yeah, as long as we don't get the record scratch. Yep. So anyway, that's the process that Siz is helping me with, which is considerably more complex than when we just had an audio podcast in Ableton.
It definitely does. Add every new feature and element you add just adds that much more.
Yeah. So and he's also been helping with some other items like music videos, which I think we'll get to right after this word from Mr. Timothy P. Green.
Hey, Timothy P. Green here. Are you tired of listening to the same old shit? I know I was. Just put in your email address and get access to some of the freshest new music you've heard in a long time. Let's have a party!
Yes, I love some Timothy P. Green, and you can get the free download at timothypgreen.net. I encourage you to do so, and you can catch last week's thing on the 3 tips for pimping your online presence on the topic where we were talking about the .nets, the .com, the Twitter handles, and all that. And by the way, you can reach Siz on Twitter at It's Siz. That's @ India Tango Sierra India Zulu. There you go. And without further ado, we were talking about Tim, and one of the first projects, other than the secret other podcast project that Siz was helping with, was doing putting together a multi-camera thing of Tim running over one of his songs right here in Red Room Studios. And what were your initial impressions of working on that?
Man, it was a lot of fun. It's because I'm coming from an audio background. It's
Right.
definitely, it's a lot of the same elements, but it's just a lot more added, whereas I'm just used to just trying to sweeten sound. Now you've got a complete different element in another room for error. So now it's interesting, though. It feels like you have more to work with, and it's, it was definitely a lot of fun, especially that multicam editing is a lot of fun.
Right. Which Premiere is pretty handy with.
Yeah.
As long as you've got sufficient processor to on your computer so that it doesn't choke. I think we've determined now that actually we meaning you, we're sending to Audition to do some audio post for, and I believe the music video for one. Mm-hmm. And it's safe to say, I think we've determined that just for the podcast, it's a lot simpler just to do, assuming we've used Ableton here, because the audio is pretty good coming out of there, just to use the built-in stuff in Premiere.
Yeah.
Even though it's got a lot of cool export to Ableton and back functionality, we noticed, especially using Creative Cloud, that it generates a whole ton of files that you don't really need in the end product. It's like transitional files, and they start eating up disk space on Creative Cloud. And so, but this particular music video was, I believe, tightened up with just in terms of, getting we were just doing it here just with tracks and one mic, this same mic, as a matter of fact. And so we were just kind of trying to make the audio sound up to standards. And here is the result. This is Timothy P. Green, Cross That Bridge. Here it is.
Gotta move on, gotta keep them doggies rolling. Never make it, never break it, if we don't keep moving forward. Time is moving, keep us grooving, gonna make it to the canyon. They'll be coming, keep us running, gonna tie us up and then, man, don't be fretting, keep a-heading, there'll be shelter in El Paso. Get a sheriff, form a posse, gonna bring them boys to justice. No more dying, keep it trying, take one thing as it comes, man. Never make it, never break it, if we don't keep moving forward. Guess we'll just cross that bridge when it comes. Well, I guess we'll just cross that bridge when it comes. Wasn't lying, wasn't trying, never said it would be easy. There'll be coyotes, bandoleros, might even see some wall paint. But we'll make it, or we'll break it, if we're slowly moving forward. Circle wagons, grab the women, gonna have to make a stand, man. Gonna fight them, don't be frightened, gonna make it to the canyon. Get a sheriff and a rope, gonna hang them if we have to. Guess we'll just cross that bridge when it comes. Well, I guess we'll just cross that bridge when it comes.
Yeah, how about them apples? So that was Tim in the Red Room studio here doing Cross That Bridge, which also you can find on the YouTubes. Just search YouTube for Timothy P. Green, Cross That Bridge. I think you will be amused. You saw a little bit of the canned video, whatever you want to call it, the studio video, the official video. Yeah, we saw some of that with the cowboys and sheriffs and convicts and stuff. But that full video is on YouTube on Tim's channel at Timothy P. Green, Cross That Bridge. You'll notice in the studio video, or you may have noticed, we did some little speed effects at the end of the video, which basically you're going in Premiere and telling it to change the speed of the clip, which is something you're probably familiar with seeing in car commercials and God knows what else. We'll probably have a tutorial on that at some time, but if you didn't notice that, go back and check it out, because that's a frequent tactic. But before we run out of time, too, I wanted to mention one of the first things that you helped me with, thank you very much, was, as I mentioned last week, the Gwen Hughes video shoot.
Yes.
And what was your impression walking into that place? It was funky.
It was definitely funky. It was a funky good time.
Yeah, it smelled a little funky in there.
Man, it was interesting. Like you kind of warned me, but it was interesting. Like I was like, okay, wow. Like I didn't know I had a cat thing until then. I think I had like cat nightmares. For a few days there, but it was a lot of fun though.
Oh yeah,
it's definitely a lot of fun.
Yeah, and you'll if you can imagine the odor of 100 litter boxes. Then you're kind of getting the vibe of what it was like in there. But so basically I've known Gwen for a long time, and she's seen, for one thing, the official Cross That Bridge video of Timothy P. Green, and she's like, oh yeah, so you do video, right? She knew that, but she's like, I think I want you to do a video for my song. And so we did, and she was thinking, because she has a connection with Fur Kids Animal Shelter, which is a very cool no-kill shelter, so that the animals, they go in there, they get to live no matter what, which is not always the case, so kudos to them. But she had a relationship with them and she's doing some benefit stuff tied in, and she said, well, I've noticed a lot of videos with cats on the internet, and I think I would like to involve cats in a different way than you're usually seeing them, like playing piano or just doing cat things, but incorporate somehow Fur Kids and them into the video. Mm-hmm. So we started throwing around some ideas, and the further along we got, we decided that actually, aside from crediting Fur Kids, the way we were doing these backdrops and things like that, we really didn't actually need to be there, except that that's where all the cats were. So, and we couldn't really get cats delivered to my garage or anything. So, so we were shooting there, but it's a good case study in sometimes your plans when you start are not always the same as the ones that you end up with. And we were going to do this, you can see the backgrounds that we're using on stands in there. And short story is the space was so small. I mean, we were totally tripping over each other. Yeah. And cats being cats, they don't always perform the way they are expected to. And we had a limited time too with the band and everybody. Gwen probably would have come back for a week if we'd asked her to, but the band's like, hey, I got a thing after this. And so we had to work with them, get them out of there. And short story is, we ended up, and kind of comes from an idea that Gwen had mentioned, this cinema verite sort of idea, and she also wanted to use some behind the scenes, just iPhone footage that she'd taken and stuff. And so I kind of went with that idea and expanded it so that you'll see coming up here, we kind of have this vibe just where it's like it's kind of meta. It's kind of like we're standing back a little from the production, and you get some of these shots of Gwen close up where we have what would be the final effect normally in a video with the pastel background and whatever. and then the rest of the shots are generally like showing the band or her in front of the background. So we kind of made lemonade out of kitty litter.
There you go.
Oh wait,
I think that's how the saying goes.
Yeah, that's probably don't want to do that. But anyway, so here is the video. It's called I Fell in Love. And here is the video that we did at Fur Kids Animal Shelter for Miss Gwen Hughes. Roll 'em.
Hey, I hit town without a clue, minding my business like I always do. Just for luck, I ran smack into you. And I never could have known it would be like this. You got me kind of charmed and I can't resist. I figure what's the harm in a little bitty kiss or two. When I fell in love,
What you wanna do that for?
I fell in love,
What you wanna do that for?
I fell in love. Took me by surprise, put me on the floor, right between the eyes with the 2x4. Just a little taste, and I fell in love. I was doing fine out on my own, never sitting home by the telephone. I couldn't complain that I didn't have much to do. I was a two-fisted woman looking for a fight. Had a boy on the left, a boy on the right, but you burned me up like a chicken in a barbecue. Then I fell in love.
What you wanna do that for?
I fell in love.
What you wanna do that for?
I fell in love. Didn't see it coming into my view. I was overwhelmed and I was overdue. I didn't seem to sweat it. I fell in love. Maybe a fool, but I don't care. I never knew what hit me. I fell in love. Oh, I fell in love.
What you wanna do that for?
I fell in love.
What you wanna do that for?
When I fell in love. Tried to feed you lies, what's wrong with me? Got me hypnotized, I cannot see. Boy, you really got me. I fell in love.
So that was Gwen Hughes' video, I Fell in Love. So that's one of my more recent projects, and the one of the ones that Siz, one of the first things you were there to help for.
Yeah.
So we are pretty much out of time with that, but I wanted to get you in here and say hello to the folks. And
What's up, folks?
Yeah. And so now I can send you away with a bunch of files you're going to be pulling your hair out with. And,
fun stuff.
Yeah. And this will be up posted on Friday. So wake up at 6 a.m. for that. And meanwhile, that pretty much wraps it up for this week's edition of the Multimedia Ninja podcast. I hope you'll come back next week and bring your friends. Don't forget that you can subscribe to the podcast just by going to themultimedianinja.com, where you can find the video and audio versions. You can subscribe wherever there's a little button there to subscribe where their fine podcasts are purveyed, and a link to the YouTube channel and all that good stuff. Do bear in mind that I still do multimedia consulting and production, so hit me up on the website and I'll be glad to help you out. In the meantime, make some good work this week, and we'll see you next week.